No man ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and he's not the same man. There comes a time when you vanish from the noise, not because you are lost, but because you are done being ordinary. You stop explaining, you stop defending, you stop proving. You disappear to rebuild. While others perform for validation, you begin the quiet work that changes everything. The world thinks you've fallen off, but in reality, you're sharpening in silence. When you return, nothing about you is the same. Your presence carries calm authority. Your silence speaks louder than their noise. You've come back different. This is the transformation that no one sees, the kind that happens behind closed doors when ambition burns out and discipline takes over. It's the point where distraction dies and identity begins. When you start to understand that peace is not a reward, it's a weapon, you realize that composure isn't weakness, it's control, that silence isn't absence, it's dominance. This is the moment the weak fade and the grounded rise. If you've ever stepped back from the world to rebuild yourself, this message is for you. It's about walking away from noise to return with structure, clarity, and power that can't be faked. It's about earning a presence that commands without words and a mind so steady that chaos breaks against it. This is how you rebuild into someone unshakable. This is how you come back different. The world often believes that withdrawal is weakness, that disappearance is defeat, that stepping back is surrender. Yet those who understand the law of transformation know that isolation is not escape, it is refinement. The Stoic does not leave to hide. They leave to dismantle everything that was reactive, uncertain, and undisciplined, until only the essential remains. When they return, they do not come back as they were. They come back different. Solitude is the forge of identity. Within quiet spaces, every distraction loses its grip, every external demand fades, and what remains is the raw structure of one's being. The disciplined mind learns to sit with itself long enough to see what must be cut away. It is in that silence that priorities reorder, values harden, and self-control begins to form its permanent architecture. The absence of noise is not emptiness, it is calibration. When a person vanishes to rebuild, the world grows impatient. They are questioned, doubted, misunderstood. But the Stoic accepts this misunderstanding as part of the process. For the one who seeks to come back, different does not aim to be recognized. They aim to be redefined. They understand that true progress occurs unseen, that the loudest transformations make no sound at all. As Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Be tolerant with others and strict with yourself." This is the creed of rebirth. To come back different means to re-enter the same world with a changed internal order. The same chaos remains, the same people, the same noise, but the individual no longer reacts. They observe, they assess, they act with clean precision. Their silence carries more weight than words once did. They no longer seek validation because solitude already revealed how little it was worth. Endurance under solitude creates clarity. Without external praise, the disciplined person learns to rely solely on their own judgment. They begin to act from reason instead of emotion. Every repetition of restraint strengthens their internal alignment. The body may rest, but the will is under constant training. What once felt like loneliness becomes command of thought. Those who have withdrawn and rebuilt carry an aura that cannot be faked. There is no performance, no desperation to be seen, no rush to explain. They return without announcement. They speak only when necessary. They work quietly, and their consistency speaks for them. To come back different is to no longer chase recognition. It is to embody it. Change achieved through retreat, has a permanence that noise cannot disrupt. The Stoic mind understands that withdrawal is the highest form of discipline. It requires one to face discomfort, uncertainty, and silence without distraction. In this confrontation, the old self dissolves. Every illusion of control, every borrowed identity, every external dependency is stripped away. What emerges is something refined through fire and patience. When the Stoic returns, the environment feels smaller. Conversations that once drained them now sound trivial. The urgency of others no longer dictates their rhythm. Their new posture is built from deliberation. Each word is measured. Each action is intentional. They carry themselves as if time itself has slowed, and yet their impact accelerates. Those who come back different no longer seek to prove anything. Their life becomes evidence. Their focus shifts from external validation to internal integrity. The reward of solitude is not peace alone. It is power refined into precision. They know where they stand, what they believe, and what they are willing to endure. The uncertainty that once controlled them is now fuel for composure. Discipline deepens when it is no longer visible to others. The Stoic who trained in silence builds endurance without applause. Every small restraint becomes a brick in their foundation. They no longer wait for the right conditions to act with principle. They create the conditions through their presence. This is the quiet dominance of mastery. The process of withdrawal is not romantic. It is severe. There are days of doubt, fatigue, and restlessness. Yet these moments are the weight that strengthens mental endurance. To rebuild without recognition is the purest test of self-respect. It is to act without witnesses and to find meaning without noise. When solitude stretches long enough, the mind becomes organized. Thought finds order, priorities find hierarchy, and emotion submits to will. This order is not imposed, it is discovered. The Stoic learns to separate impulse from principle, reaction from response, urgency from purpose. What remains is the core self, rational, composed, ready. A person who comes back different does not need to announce their return. Their presence does the speaking. The world senses it before words are exchanged. They move slower, yet with sharper direction. They observe more, speak less, and their silence carries the authority of someone who has faced their own chaos and conquered it. True transformation does not decorate itself. It manifests in conduct, tone, and choice. The Stoics' change is internalized so deeply that it becomes visible without expression. Their energy shifts, their gaze steadies, their mind no longer scatters. Even in ordinary conversation, their calm unsettles the frantic. Those who have rebuilt themselves in silence develop a kind of moral geometry. They live in alignment, where each decision reinforces discipline. They no longer oscillate between extremes because they have studied both chaos and order within. Every act becomes intentional. They have learned that control is not about dominance, it is about direction. The return from solitude is not about celebration, it is about integration. The Stoic re-enters the world without needing to adjust to its pace. They carry their own rhythm, their own clarity, their own measure of what matters. This internal sovereignty is what distinguishes the disciplined from the distracted. To come back different is to no longer seek balance through external conditions. Balance is now an internal state. Circumstances lose their power to dictate conduct. Challenges do not disturb peace, they reveal it. The person has become centered enough to hold stillness within movement. When the Stoic walks into a room, they are felt before they are heard. Their calm carries an unspoken authority that disrupts chaos without effort. This is not mysticism. It is psychological structure. Years of restraint and self-command form an invisible architecture that alters the energy around them. They are no longer governed by impulse. Where they once reacted, they now decide. Where they once hesitated, they now execute. Where they once defended, they now stand silent. Every movement is rooted in clarity. Every pause is deliberate. This composure is not an act. It is the natural result of internal order. The person who has come back different no longer argues for their value. They embody it. Their time becomes selective, their speech refined, their standards immovable. Mediocrity no longer provokes them, it amuses them. The desire to correct others fades. Their energy is reserved for creation, not conflict. To those still living in noise, their calm appears mysterious. They are misunderstood as distant, detached, or cold. Yet their stillness is not absence, it is efficiency. They have learned to move without friction, to act without tension, to progress without spectacle. They understand that composure is the highest form of strength. Solitude teaches a person the value of endurance. In silence, they learn that progress is rarely visible while it happens. The transformation is subtle, occurring in thought, perception, and judgment. Only when they return does the difference reveal itself. Through conduct, through patience, through restraint. Coming back different means that your motives have changed. You no longer seek comfort, you seek clarity. You no longer seek pleasure, you seek control. You no longer seek recognition, you seek consistency. The compass has shifted inward, and the direction is now governed by principle, not emotion. Those who have rebuilt in solitude become immune to shallow distraction. They no longer need constant stimulation to feel alive. Their contentment is derived from order, from progress, from discipline itself. They no longer chase excitement, they cultivate peace. Their calm is now the result of deliberate practice. A Stoic understands that transformation requires disconnection. The world cannot hear clearly those who are still surrounded by noise. To change, one must first silence the unnecessary. The withdrawal is not an act of rebellion, it is preparation. The individual leaves so they can return composed, aligned, and exact in purpose. When they come back, they carry no bitterness toward those who doubted them. Their silence during transformation was not revenge, it was focus. They owe no explanations. They let results articulate what words cannot. This is the essence of mastery, the ability to act without announcing, to evolve without declaring. Each step back into the world is intentional. The Stoic tests their composure against distraction, their clarity against confusion, their restraint against provocation. These tests no longer exhaust them. They reveal how far they have come. The self rebuilt in solitude is no longer fragile. It is fortified. To come back different is to hold peace under pressure. It is to see through deception, to resist reaction, to lead without demanding. The Stoics' transformation grants them immunity from chaos. They no longer chase outcomes, they pursue alignment. Their focus remains fixed on conduct, not consequence. When solitude ends, purpose begins. The disciplined person does not return to old patterns. They move through life as if every action were an extension of training. There is precision in their timing, restraint in their response, weight in their silence. They have learned to move from stillness, not emotion. People will notice the change but not understand it. They will sense distance and call it arrogance, feel calmness and call it coldness. The Stoic does not explain. They understand that comprehension requires the same silence that created transformation. Only those who have endured isolation can recognize its rewards. In this new state, the individual becomes both calm and unbreakable. They carry no desire to prove superiority. Their satisfaction comes from control over the self. The same noise that once provoked them now fades into background static. Their energy is no longer scattered, it is centered and directed. When you come back different, you begin to see how much of the world is built on reaction. Most people are moved by impulse, emotion, and imitation. The Stoic stands outside that pattern. They move through chaos like a steady current, unmoved, aware, deliberate. Their stillness becomes a mirror that exposes disorder. To reach this state requires endurance. It demands the patience to let everything fall apart, the discipline to rebuild without recognition, and the strength to walk alone until strength itself becomes nature. Those who endure this process find that their new identity cannot be undone by noise, failure, or loss. It is too integrated, too earned, too real. Coming back different is not a moment, it is a condition. It does not depend on circumstance. It is maintained through consistent alignment between thought and action. The Stoic lives as if every moment were a test of stability. They remain composed when tested, humble when praised, and immovable when misunderstood. The essence of transformation lies in control. To rebuild is to reclaim authority over the inner world. The Stoic no longer seeks peace from life. They bring peace into it. Their presence steadies others. Their silence commands respect. Their mind functions like a disciplined blade, sharp, clean, and efficient. This return is the culmination of countless unseen battles, the fight against impulse, the war with ego, the endless practice of restraint. Every victory invisible, every gain internal. The result is a person who walks without tension and acts without hesitation. Their confidence is quiet because it no longer requires defense. When the disciplined return, they carry the calm of someone who has already faced themselves. There is nothing left to prove, nothing left to chase. Their joy is found in order, their fulfillment in progress. They understand that peace is not found, it is built. Every day, every act, every thought adds to its foundation. In this state, life itself becomes training. Every challenge becomes an opportunity to reaffirm mastery. Every failure becomes a lesson in endurance. Every silence becomes a space for recalibration. The Stoic understands that the comeback never ends. To stay different, one must continue refining, always purifying thought through conduct. Those who come back different understand permanence. They no longer live for moments of triumph. They live in the structure of stability. They are not moved by noise because they have replaced reaction with understanding. They have learned to operate from calm precision instead of emotional urgency. This is what it means to return changed, to carry silence within action, patience within power, and humility within mastery. The Stoic does not announce transformation. They live it, consistently and completely. To come back different is to move through life as evidence that solitude, discipline, and endurance create a kind of peace that nothing can disturb. Transformation through withdrawal is the quietest revolution a human being can undertake. It begins with exhaustion, the moment when repetition, noise, and false pursuits collapse under their own weight. What follows is not retreat, but recalibration. The Stoic recognizes that when the world loses coherence, the only way forward is inward. Silence becomes the new discipline. Restraint becomes the new training. In absence, strength begins to mature. Withdrawal is not an act of hiding. It is a controlled descent into the depths of one's own structure. The person who enters this space must confront everything that once guided them. Impulse, validation, fear, attachment. The process strips away illusions layer by layer until the only thing left is clarity. Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events, Realize this, and you will find strength. The solitude he spoke of is not geographical, it is mental detachment from dependence. When the Stoic withdraws, time alters. Days no longer measure progress. Progress becomes the ability to remain still without collapsing. In silence, every thought echoes louder, and every weakness demands correction. The disciplined mind learns to face its own noise without distraction. This confrontation is brutal but necessary. No one who avoids this process ever reaches inner dominion. The modern world rejects withdrawal because it fears stillness. Noise has become currency, distraction has become identity. But the Stoic seeks the opposite. They withdraw to remove contamination, to clean thought from the residues of urgency and comparison. In the quiet, the mind heals its fractures and reorganizes its architecture. Each day spent in isolation becomes a day spent in truth. True reconstruction begins when comfort ends. The first days of solitude feel like suffocation because the self has forgotten how to exist without stimulation. Gradually, the person learns that the mind does not starve in silence, it sharpens. They begin to hear themselves clearly. They begin to sense what must stay and what must die. The Stoic allows the process to unfold without panic. Every discomfort is part of purification. As the days unfold, emotion transforms into signal. Anger shows where boundaries must be redrawn. Sadness reveals attachment to illusion. Fear points toward dependency. The Stoic studies these emotions with surgical calm, dismantling each reaction to expose the principle underneath. Through this examination, chaos becomes instruction. The soul learns to govern itself by reason, not reaction. Withdrawal redefines strength. It removes the illusion that power is loud or visible. In silence, power is measured by how little disturbs the mind. The Stoic trains to remain still while the world demands movement. They learn to pause where others rush. They learn to wait where others seek escape. Patience becomes a form of control. Endurance becomes composure in motion. As solitude deepens, perception sharpens. The Stoic begins to see the patterns that once governed behavior, the cycles of distraction, approval, and fear. Each realization becomes a break in the chain. Self-awareness hardens into command. The person learns that mastery is not achieved through action alone, but through precision in thought. The fewer impulses control them, the greater their freedom becomes. There is no applause for this kind of work. It happens unseen. Progress is measured in restraint, in clarity, in the absence of reaction. Those who rebuild in silence learn to appreciate invisibility. They understand that visibility invites distortion. Strength preserved in secrecy matures into permanence. The Stoic becomes stronger not because they act more, but because they act from a place that no longer wavers. Every period of withdrawal tests loyalty to principle. There will be moments when isolation feels unbearable. Doubt whispers that nothing is changing. The disciplined endure these moments as part of the trial. They understand that transformation is not a spectacle. It is repetition under silence. Each day of consistency is another layer of identity reinforced by will. Through prolonged solitude, values rearrange. What once felt urgent becomes irrelevant. What once seemed distant becomes essential. The person begins to live according to internal law, not external momentum. They rise at consistent hours, maintain structure, act with measured purpose. This pattern of self-command replaces the need for external control. When transformation deepens, silence becomes companion rather than punishment. The person no longer fears emptiness. They find meaning in the absence of noise. Their focus strengthens to the point that distraction feels unnatural. The Stoic learns to create from calm, to move without hurry, to think without interference. Their mind becomes an ordered chamber where thought moves with discipline. Withdrawal teaches proportion. In isolation, every desire exposes its true size. The Stoic measures each impulse against reason and discards what exceeds necessity. This practice creates freedom. They realize that control is not limitation, it is efficiency. The disciplined person carries no excess. They travel through life light, direct, and exact. Those who rebuild in solitude begin to carry themselves differently. There is less urgency in their speech, less tension in their presence. Their calm is not the absence of emotion, it is its mastery. They have learned to feel deeply without being directed by feeling. Their restraint is not coldness, it is precision. They understand the correct use of energy. In isolation, the mind revisits memory. Old failures surface, old wounds reopen, and unhealed narratives demand closure. The Stoic faces these without indulgence. They analyze, accept, and reclassify. Regret becomes data, pain becomes instruction. The process transforms history into structure rather than burden. This is how endurance becomes wisdom. Transformation through withdrawal reshapes perception of control. The Stoic no longer demands outcomes. They focus on conduct. They measure success by consistency, not reward. Their progress is inward, their standards self-imposed. The external world becomes a reflection, not a determinant. The disciplined person begins to operate as a closed system of order within disorder. As solitude continues, simplicity emerges. The Stoic eliminates what is unnecessary, conversations that drain, habits that blur focus, emotions that serve ego. Each subtraction increases clarity. Their day becomes ritual. Their thought becomes method. Their movement becomes deliberate. Through this purification, existence itself becomes clean. In the quiet hours of withdrawal, the mind becomes self-aware enough to sense deviation instantly. The disciplined correct themselves before disorder expands. This vigilance creates a new kind of confidence, the assurance that one can maintain internal order without supervision. The Stoic becomes self-sustaining. Their composure no longer requires external peace to exist. Every act of solitude builds the capacity for independence. The Stoic learns to source strength from discipline, not environment. They rely on structure rather than mood. Each decision aligns with principle. This consistency forges a type of calm that cannot be replicated through comfort. It is earned through confrontation with silence. The longer the withdrawal, the clearer the identity. The Stoic begins to sense what aligns with their nature and what disrupts it. They no longer force relationships, ambitions, or ideas that lack integrity. Detachment becomes effortless. Their peace no longer negotiates, it simply is. Transformation demands that the person abandon their former self. This process is uncomfortable because the old identity resists extinction. The disciplined allow it to dissolve. They understand that clinging to an outdated version of the self is a form of cowardice. Renewal requires death of illusion. What remains after dissolution is real. In this reconstruction, solitude becomes the crucible of meaning. The Stoic learns that fulfillment does not come from accumulation, but from alignment. Every principle reinforced through practice becomes a source of quiet satisfaction. The reward is not applause, it is internal harmony. Those who rebuild in silence develop patience for depth. They no longer rush conversations, projects, or growth. They understand that quality requires time and repetition. Their mind no longer demands constant novelty. Stability becomes appealing. They have transcended stimulation and entered understanding. The disciplined individual learns to monitor their own thinking as if it belonged to another. This separation between observer and impulse grants freedom. They can interrupt irrational patterns before they manifest. This is the essence of Stoic mastery: to stand guard at the gate of the mind and admit only what aligns with reason. Withdrawal hardens clarity into vision. The Stoic begins to see cause and effect with greater precision. They anticipate outcomes, avoid unnecessary conflict, and act without haste. Their awareness expands without emotional distortion. This awareness is not arrogance. It is the reward of self-governance. Through repeated exposure to silence, the mind learns endurance without fatigue. The Stoic can remain focused for long durations, maintain composure in pressure, and return to stillness after disruption. They have conditioned their mind to operate without external motivation. This is true independence, the ability to sustain purpose through will alone. As transformation matures, solitude no longer isolates, it empowers. The person becomes capable of re-entering the world without losing alignment. They engage without absorption, participate without dependence. Their presence influences without intention. Others feel calm in their proximity because discipline emits stability. Every person who undergoes withdrawal reaches a moment of awakening, the realization that they no longer need to return as they were. They have become something quieter, stronger, more exact. The noise that once defined them now feels foreign. The world's urgency appears artificial. Their clarity makes disorder transparent. The Stoic who completes this transformation carries stillness into movement. They can act decisively without haste, respond under stress without anger, and remain composed amid uncertainty. Their decisions come from structure, not emotion. Their calm is a tool, their silence a weapon, their focus a form of power. When withdrawal ends, integration begins. The Stoic steps back into the world as if they never left, but everything within them has changed. They listen differently, move differently, think differently. Their standards are higher, their tolerance lower, their actions more deliberate. They live as proof that solitude refines character. The transformation is irreversible. Once a person learns to operate from stillness, they can never return to chaos. They may visit it, but it no longer commands them. They are governed by principle, anchored by discipline, and guided by clarity. The world becomes a place to exercise mastery, not to seek validation. This is advanced Stoic transformation, the reconstruction of the inner world through silence, endurance, and self-command. It is the process of becoming one's own foundation. The individual who completes it does not crave peace. They generate it. They do not seek strength, they embody it. To withdraw and rebuild is to become unshakable. Mastery begins where the need for validation ends. The Stoic who has rebuilt in silence no longer requires recognition to sustain conviction. Their actions are now guided by law, not by mood. The self has become principle. The external world has lost its authority. What remains is permanence, the quiet continuity of discipline refined through solitude. Identity forged through withdrawal does not fluctuate with circumstance. It becomes a stable architecture, impervious to external tides. The Stoic operates as a closed system. Their conduct arises from internal alignment, and their composure maintains itself through repetition of principle. This permanence is not rigidity, it is structure maintained by choice. Each decision reinforces the foundation until self-command becomes identity. The permanence of mastery lies in the seamless union between thought and action. There is no gap between understanding and behavior. The Stoic no longer debates whether to act correctly, they simply do. Virtue has become instinct, and reason has become nature. The person no longer trains, they maintain. Every moment of discipline reinforces the whole structure of the self. To reach this point, the mind must undergo complete reorganization. The chaotic impulses that once ruled behavior have been dismantled. Emotion has been domesticated by clarity. Desire has been pruned by purpose. The disciplined mind functions as an ecosystem of order, each thought serving a precise function. No movement is wasted. No energy leaks through distraction. Mastery is not expression. It is containment. The Stoic does not speak often because they no longer need to persuade. Their silence is filled with certainty. They observe before acting, and when they do act, the gesture carries the weight of restraint. In every situation, they hold the advantage of stillness. Power does not require motion, it requires understanding. The permanence of transformation can be seen in the way the person carries themselves. The once fragmented mind now radiates composure. Their presence feels organized. Their speech is clean, their movements deliberate. This calm is not learned performance. It is the physical manifestation of mental order. They no longer need to project strength because strength has become posture. In mastery, solitude no longer feels like separation. It becomes a state that follows the individual everywhere. Even in company, they remain centered, self-contained, unshaken. Their calm is not situational, it is constant. They have built a citadel within that no event can breach. Epictetus once wrote, "No man is free who is not master of himself." Freedom for the Stoic is this exact self-governance. The permanence of mastery transforms one's relationship to time. The disciplined person no longer lives in anticipation or regret. They operate in a state of continuity. The past has been reconciled, and the future carries no anxiety. Every moment is handled as duty, cleanly and without hesitation. This clarity creates a life without friction. Those who reach mastery understand that energy must be preserved. They no longer expend effort on convincing, arguing, or proving. Their proof is existence itself. Their life becomes demonstration. Every choice, every tone, every silence communicates discipline. People begin to sense authority in their restraint. It is not forceful, but it commands respect. The Stoic who has stabilized mastery begins to experience detachment without distance. They care without being controlled. They engage without dependency. They contribute without exhaustion. Their actions are measured, and their involvement is strategic. They no longer scatter attention. They direct it like a beam. Precision replaces passion as the dominant force. Identity through mastery is not an image, it is a function. The individual does not wear philosophy as display. They live it. Stoicism becomes an operating system, efficient, consistent, reliable. They are not interested in appearing strong. They are interested in remaining stable. What others interpret as mystery is simply absence of waste. When mastery becomes permanent, the self enters still evolution. The changes are no longer visible as struggle, they appear as refinement. Each year brings tighter focus, clearer values, sharper boundaries. The person no longer chases growth, they polish it. Their progress is quiet but unending. It is the nature of discipline to refine itself. Such individuals move through the world like gravity, subtle but undeniable. They influence without demanding, and their consistency becomes a stabilizing presence for others. Their power is not reactive, it is generative. They no longer mirror the world adjusts to them. This reversal marks the final phase of self-command. Permanence in mastery requires vigilance. Composure must be guarded against decay. The Stoic maintains daily rituals that reinforce structure: early rising, deliberate reflection, measured speech, restraint in appetite. Each small discipline prevents drift. The person who neglects small order soon loses large control. Mastery is kept alive through repetition. The untrained mind associates stillness with stagnation. The trained mind knows that stillness is stored energy. The Stoic holds vast internal motion beneath a surface of calm. Their restraint does not signal weakness, it conceals power. This equilibrium is the result of perfect distribution of focus. Energy is directed only where it matters. Mastery transforms perception of difficulty. The Stoic no longer interprets challenge as opposition. They see it as calibration. Every problem becomes a mirror reflecting the stability of their discipline. When they are tested, they do not resist emotionally, they observe structurally. They ask, where is control, where is alignment, and act accordingly. Their peace does not depend on circumstance, it is extracted from it. The permanence of mastery manifests as emotional neutrality. The disciplined person feels deeply but expresses selectively. They no longer dramatize events. Their judgment filters emotion through principle before expression. This detachment protects clarity. To others it appears as serenity. To the Stoic, it is strategy. When mastery becomes identity, failure loses its threat. Mistakes are treated as data. The Stoic adjusts conduct without shame or resistance. Ego has been replaced by precision. They measure themselves only by adherence to principle. Praise and blame occupy the same category, external noise. The only judgment that matters is self-assessment through reason. The mind of mastery operates in hierarchy. The Stoic prioritizes internal order first, execution second, and result last. They understand that outcomes are reflections of inner structure. If the structure is right, the results will align in time. This order creates resilience. No setback can unmake them because they are built from first principles, not fleeting successes. A person in mastery carries absence of friction in movement. They walk, speak, and decide with efficiency born from clarity. There is no waste in gesture, no overreach in expression. Even their stillness carries precision. The untrained may mistake it for detachment, but it is control functioning at full capacity. The permanence of mastery also manifests in selective exposure. The Stoic chooses carefully what enters their attention. They protect focus as one protects life. The environment is curated for discipline. They interact with few, but with purpose. Every association serves either learning or stability. They understand that chaos is contagious. In the advanced state, solitude becomes communion. The person finds conversation in silence, companionship in thought, and purpose in work. They no longer require stimulation from others to feel connected. Connection is internal, a dialogue between principle and action. This is the quiet joy of mastery. Mastery also alters one's relationship with time's pace. The Stoic moves neither fast nor slow. They move correctly. Their actions sync with necessity. There is no rush, but there is no delay. Their pace reflects awareness, not urgency. Life ceases to feel fragmented. Every action contributes to a continuous whole. The identity of mastery dissolves self-importance. The Stoic recognizes their smallness within the larger structure of nature. This humility strengthens clarity. They act with purpose, but without vanity. They understand that excellence is its own reward. As Seneca wrote, "He who does good for good's sake seeks neither praise nor reward." The master lives by this principle. In permanence, peace ceases to be a goal and becomes a constant. The mind functions like still water, reflective, clear, undisturbed. Thought arises and passes without turbulence. Desire appears and dissolves without domination. The person lives in equilibrium, not suppression. Control has become natural behavior. Everyday life for the Stoic master feels lighter. Decisions no longer produce tension. Interactions require less effort. Fatigue diminishes because energy is conserved. Their environment reflects their order, clean, efficient, balanced. Simplicity becomes aesthetic and moral. They no longer collect, they refine. The permanence of mastery gives rise to detachment from volatility. Success, failure, praise and criticism lose polarity. The Stoic perceives all external events as movements of the same current. Their role is navigation, not resistance. They float above judgment while remaining deeply engaged with conduct. Mastery also sharpens empathy. The disciplined person no longer projects emotion onto others. They see human weakness with precision, not contempt. They understand the architecture of failure because they dismantled it within themselves. This understanding produces quiet compassion, the kind that neither enables nor condemns, but steadies. When mastery matures fully, identity fuses with principle. The person becomes what they practice. They no longer describe their philosophy, they embody it. Their name, tone, and presence merge with their standard. Their existence becomes demonstration of what order can produce when sustained without interruption. The permanence of mastery carries no pride. The Stoic remains aware that all control is temporary if neglected. They maintain daily discipline not from fear, but from respect. Each act of restraint, each moment of reflection, each correction preserves the structure. Mastery is never owned. It is maintained. The master understands that peace must have structure. They continue refining the invisible architecture, schedule, thought, habit, and conduct. The outer world can collapse, but the inner world remains precise. This is true sovereignty, independence from instability. As the cycle completes, the Stoic no longer seeks meaning. They create it through behavior. Purpose has become continuous. The return to society is effortless because the world can no longer alter internal rhythm. They move through it like stone through water, unaffected, consistent, real. The permanence of mastery marks the end of fluctuation. The person lives with one face, one mind, one direction. Their actions no longer betray their values. Their composure never abandons them. They have become structure itself, disciplined, calm, indestructible. This is the state of enduring identity. The person who reaches it does not ascend, they stabilize. Their power lies not in motion, but in stillness. They are the evidence of philosophy embodied. To live like this is to exist beyond reaction, to become permanence itself. When the Stoic returns to the world, they do so without ceremony. There is no announcement, no claim of superiority, no demand for recognition. The re-entry is silent because the transformation has already occurred. The person who reappears among the noise is no longer part of it. Their presence carries the stillness of one who has already conquered the internal storms. They have mastered the art of calm dominion. To live with calm dominion is to hold authority without display. The Stoic moves through environments that once unsettled them with absolute composure. The world may remain loud, but their perception no longer registers it as disruption. They have learned to separate perception from intrusion, to see everything, to absorb nothing. This is the power that silence produces, the ability to remain untouched by turbulence. Dominion begins internally. The Stoics' thoughts no longer pull against one another. Their mind is unified in direction. There is no wasted energy and emotional contradiction. Desire, duty, and reason operate in perfect alignment. From this internal symmetry arises an external authority. The world senses it even before words are spoken. When composure reaches this level, influence becomes effortless. The disciplined individual does not need to persuade. Their calm regulates the environment around them. In meetings, in conflict, in chaos, their tone recalibrates others. Power of this kind is not theatrical, it is gravitational. The unsteady feels steadiness and unconsciously adjust. The Stoic no longer seeks control over others. They control the atmosphere through their consistency. The untrained may attempt dominance through volume, posture, or status, but the disciplined dominate through absence of reaction. They do not rise to provocation. They do not mirror agitation. Their restraint becomes the higher ground that no aggression can reach. To exist in calm dominion requires total understanding of self. The Stoic has mapped their weaknesses so thoroughly that nothing external can exploit them. Their patience is not submission, it is surveillance. They observe before they act. They calculate timing without haste. This timing, precise and invisible, grants them influence without confrontation. Re-entry after solitude does not mean return to conformity. The Stoic participates in the world while remaining detached from its illusions. They work among others, but their mind remains their own. They navigate ambition without corruption, success without vanity, and loss without despair. The external world becomes terrain, not master. The presence of such a person redefines leadership. They command without demand, correct without insult, direct without arrogance. Their authority originates from character, not position. People follow them not out of fear, but from recognition of stability. The disciplined mind becomes the axis around which chaos reorganizes. Calm dominion transforms speech. The Stoic no longer talks to fill space. Each word is chosen with precision and purpose. Silence is valued more than noise. When they do speak, the tone carries conviction. There is no attempt to sound powerful. Power is embedded in the clarity of their reasoning. Those who listen feel weight in every phrase. Influence born from composure does not require visibility. The Stoic may remain unnoticed in noise, but felt in silence. Their effect is cumulative, measured in the calm they leave behind after interaction. They do not manipulate, they stabilize. Their presence becomes synonymous with certainty. When such a person faces hostility, they remain neutral. They understand that emotional contagion is the weapon of the weak. Anger is energy given away. The Stoic holds composure as both shield and strategy. By refusing reaction, they reveal the instability of others. Conflict dissolves in the presence of their control. The power of calm dominion lies in anticipation. The disciplined mind sees events several layers deep. They understand that most chaos is predictable. The majority of human behavior is repetition. The Stoic studies these patterns not to exploit them, but to remain immune to them. Knowledge of cause and effect becomes armor. In public settings, the Stoic exerts quiet order. Their decisions are measured, their movements minimal, their demeanor consistent. They project neither coldness nor warmth, only focus. This neutrality unsettles those addicted to emotional exchange. It disarms manipulation and ends confrontation without battle. Dominion over self extends to environment. The Stoic designs surroundings to reflect inner clarity. Workspaces are minimal, schedules are disciplined, interactions are intentional. Disorder cannot survive proximity to precision. Their environment becomes an extension of their mind, quiet, deliberate, balanced. As calm dominion matures, ambition changes form. The Stoic no longer chases outcomes. They attract alignment. They focus on excellence rather than attention. Their standards are self-imposed and non-negotiable. Each act is a reflection of internal law. The pursuit is no longer success. It is integrity in motion. When challenges arise, the disciplined person does not resist emotionally. They study structure. Every difficulty becomes a problem of mechanics, not tragedy. The question is always the same: what can be controlled? Once identified, they act with precision and move forward without hesitation. This clarity is indistinguishable from confidence. The Stoics' composure under pressure becomes their identity. Others begin to associate them with stability. In a culture obsessed with reaction, their stillness becomes legendary. They lead by contrast. Where others panic, they prepare. Where others argue, they act. Their calm becomes contagious, and through it, influence expands. Calm dominion eliminates insecurity. The Stoic has faced their weaknesses and removed their dependence on approval. Praise no longer inflates them, and criticism no longer diminishes them. This equilibrium gives them unmatched adaptability. They can move between environments, roles, and conflicts without losing their core alignment. True influence operates through observation. The Stoic watches more than they intervene. They understand that understanding is power. By reading patterns without reacting, they hold informational advantage. Their restraint in speech conceals depth in strategy. Those who underestimate them reveal themselves through haste. Re-entry into the external world exposes the disciplined to constant noise, yet what once overwhelmed now instructs. Every distraction becomes a test of alignment, every provocation a chance to practice stillness. The world that used to drain now strengthens them. The Stoic converts chaos into training. When power becomes silent, it becomes absolute. The Stoic has no need to display superiority because their control is evident in outcomes. People who rely on performance lose energy in image maintenance. The disciplined conserve energy through consistency. Their power accumulates quietly until it feels immovable. Calm dominion produces efficiency and judgment. The person no longer hesitates between options. They have refined decision-making into instinct. Principle serves as compass, clarity as lens. Choices are executed without noise, and correction occurs without ego. This rhythm creates momentum that feels effortless. Those who master calm dominion carry a form of invisible leadership. They are the ones people look to when situations unravel. Their presence steadies, their words restore proportion. They rarely take credit because influence to them is not ownership, it is service. Their satisfaction comes from restoration of order. A Stoic who moves through the world in this way rarely explains themselves. Explanation invites misinterpretation. They prefer demonstration. Every behavior becomes signal, every action communication. They understand that consistency is louder than rhetoric. Their silence is not mystery, it is proof. Calm dominion requires vigilance. It must be guarded from complacency. The Stoic maintains inner order through daily recentering. Reflection, restraint, and repetition preserve their clarity. Mastery without maintenance decays. Each morning, they recommit to principle. Each night, they audit conduct. This discipline sustains the permanence of calm. Their detachment is not emotional absence, it is precision in empathy. They feel deeply but choose when and how to engage. Compassion, for the Stoic, is not indulgence, it is structure. They assist where action matters and withdraw where presence is wasted. This efficiency allows endless giving without depletion. In leadership, calm dominion appears as quiet authority. Orders are replaced with standards. Control is replaced with example. The Stoic corrects not through punishment, but through demonstration of discipline. Others emulate what they see. The hierarchy shifts from command to respect. Re-entry into social circles reveals the gap between noise and silence. The Stoic interacts without absorption. Conversation loses its urgency. Attention is no longer fragmented. They listen fully, respond precisely, and move on without residue. Every engagement is concluded cleanly. Their detachment preserves energy. Dominion through calm produces unshakable confidence. It is the confidence of one who requires nothing from the external world to feel whole. There is no begging for certainty. There is no pursuit of validation. They carry stability like an internal climate. Their peace is self-generated and weatherproof. As this presence expands, others begin to recalibrate unconsciously. Their tone softens around the Stoic. Their pace slows. Their thoughts clarify. The disciplined do not impose order, they evoke it. The calm they radiate functions as unspoken correction to disorder. The world begins to move at their rhythm. True calm is active, not passive. It observes, measures, and adjusts. The Stoic stillness is not immobility, it is dominance over impulse. Every decision arises from an ordered chain of reasoning. They do not suppress emotion, they govern it. Their control allows full experience without chaos. When adversity appears, the Stoic stands still long enough to understand it. They do not rush to fix or flee. They watch, interpret, and then intervene at the correct angle. This makes them appear prophetic, but it is simply the effect of discipline applied to perception. Calm expands awareness. Panic narrows it. The highest expression of calm dominion is silent leadership. It exists beyond the desire to direct or command. The Stoic influence is through example so consistent that others cannot ignore it. They have become the embodiment of principle, living evidence that reasoned conduct can outlast noise. At this stage, the disciplined person experiences still victory. Their success is not dramatic. It is continuous. Each day ends with the quiet satisfaction of precision maintained. They have learned that domination is not conquest of others, but conquest of disorder. To remain composed amid chaos is to rule without ruling. The Stoics' calm becomes legacy. Their manner, speech, and posture leave impressions deeper than instruction. They become remembered for steadiness. Their silence outlasts those who shouted. Their restraint influences generations who never met them. The echo of their composure becomes timeless. This is the nature of calm dominion, the invisible empire built upon discipline, restraint, and presence. The Stoic who returns to the world after solitude rules not by command, but by example. They move through chaos as order itself. Their peace is their power, and their silence is their influence. Strength, calm, and timeless order converge when the Stoic no longer separates discipline from identity. What began as effort has become essence. Every thought, motion, and silence carries the same equilibrium. The person who once struggled to maintain composure now lives within it. It is no longer something they practice, it is who they are. The embodiment of strength is not physical tension or emotional armor. It is the still power of one who no longer reacts to instability. Strength becomes invisible because it no longer needs to prove itself. The disciplined individual moves through conflict with the certainty of structure. Their presence steadies the environment like weight applied to chaos. They have become gravity. Calm, when perfected, transcends mood. It no longer depends on conditions. The Stoic has trained the nervous system to mirror the mind's clarity. External disruption cannot disturb the rhythm because the rhythm originates within. This is the final state of composure, when serenity becomes reflex. Marcus Aurelius called this alignment the harmony between the ruling principle and nature itself. Order, in its timeless form, is self-sustaining. The Stoic no longer maintains control by constant vigilance. They maintain it through nature. Discipline has become automatic behavior. Their thoughts self-correct. Their actions self-balance. Their judgment operates without hesitation because it has been purified through years of alignment. The machine of mind and conduct now functions as one. In this condition, power becomes quiet permanence. The Stoic does not need new philosophies or systems. They have arrived at principle distilled to essence: clarity, restraint, endurance, action. These four elements form the architecture of peace. They operate like gravity, silent, absolute, consistent. Those who reach this state understand that mastery is not expansion, but return. They have circled back to simplicity, to what always existed beneath the noise. Strength is no longer accumulation of control, but absence of weakness. Calm is no longer practiced stillness, but the absence of turbulence. They have not added. They have subtracted until only order remained. The embodiment of timeless order changes how the individual relates to existence. They no longer fight time. They move with it. Each moment carries purpose without tension. There is no resistance to life's rhythm. The Stoic understands that alignment with nature means alignment with reality itself. Fate becomes collaboration rather than opposition. Strength expressed through calm appears paradoxical to the untrained. How can power exist without force? The answer is composure. The Stoic has learned that the highest intensity exists in the quietest form. Noise disperses energy. Silence concentrates it. What looks passive is in fact absolute control of every internal variable. To live in timeless order is to dissolve boundaries between reflection and action. The Stoic no longer prepares, they execute. The line between contemplation and decision has disappeared. Each thought is already weighted with clarity. Each movement already aligned with intention. They no longer hesitate between right and wrong. They simply move cleanly. Strength now operates beyond emotion. The Stoic still feels deeply, but feeling no longer dictates direction. Emotion becomes current channeled by will. Every surge is contained within reason. This containment creates stability visible in every gesture. The eyes of such a person do not flicker, they observe. Their hands do not fidget, they rest. Their voice carries symmetry. The embodiment of calm transforms perception of challenge. The disciplined mind interprets difficulty as exercise, not opposition. Each hardship becomes an opportunity to affirm structure. The Stoic no longer asks for ease, they seek alignment under pressure. Every test refines, every setback clarifies. The harder life presses, the clearer their equilibrium becomes. In timeless order, presence replaces ambition. The Stoic no longer projects into future or past. They operate entirely in the now with total commitment. There is no fragmentation of focus. The present moment is sufficient because it contains all that can be controlled. This is not resignation. It is precision of existence. To live like this is to become unassailable. The external world cannot corrupt what no longer depends on it. Praise, blame, loss, or gain, all are processed through the same unbroken logic. The Stoic remains whole because they no longer divide their attention between what is and what should be. Reality itself becomes the ally. The mind in timeless order sees through illusion. The Stoic recognizes the brevity of life and no longer wastes it on vanity or argument. They invest energy only where permanence exists, in conduct, in principle, in structure. Their detachment is not withdrawal, it is focus on what endures. Epictetus taught that wisdom lies in knowing what depends on us. The Stoic who embodies order lives this truth without effort. Their communication reflects mastery. Words become instruments of clarity, not decoration. They do not speak to impress, but to convey truth. Their sentences are structured like their thoughts, measured, balanced, exact. Even silence speaks, carrying the confidence of one who governs themselves completely. The power of timeless calm radiates through behavior. The Stoics' movements are deliberate, their decisions clean. Their pace never exceeds necessity. In a world addicted to urgency, their still rhythm commands attention. They embody the correction to chaos. Their restraint is discipline made visible. In this final embodiment, energy becomes purity. The Stoic no longer spends strength managing reaction. They conserve it for creation. Their work carries depth because it is born from stillness. The mind that no longer fluctuates produces clarity that endures. The art, thought, or leadership they generate carries the mark of permanence. The disciplined person now lives as example rather than lesson. They do not teach philosophy, they are philosophy in motion. People sense the order in their tone, in their manner, in their focus. Their mere existence becomes influence. They no longer convince, they demonstrate. To embody strength, calm, and timeless order is to exist as constant amid change. Seasons shift, people falter, fortunes rise and collapse, but the Stoic remains equal to all. They are not numb, they are steady. The heart beats slow, the breath remains measured. They understand that impermanence is not threat, it is context. The mastery of stillness grants sight beyond noise. The Stoic perceives patterns before they unfold. They move without rush because they see beyond urgency. Their anticipation is not calculation. It is intuition refined by discipline. This is foresight without effort, understanding without strain. Order transforms the concept of victory. The disciplined mind no longer seeks to win. It seeks to remain aligned. Victory is endurance without deviation. The Stoic measures success by continuity of principle. When they act correctly under stress, that is triumph. When they remain calm under pressure, that is conquest. The body reflects the order of the mind. Posture straight, movement deliberate, eyes unhurried. The physical self mirrors the psychological. Years of disciplined thought manifest in composure of form. The Stoic does not attempt to appear powerful. They appear natural, and nature itself expresses power. As this embodiment stabilizes, fear dissolves completely. The person realizes that nothing external can truly harm what is internally ordered. Loss becomes rearrangement. Pain becomes reminder. Death becomes transition. The Stoic's courage arises not from denial, but from understanding. They have accepted life's full design. Their relationship with others evolves. Compassion deepens without attachment. They guide without control, assist without expectation. The Stoic helps not to fix people, but to stabilize them through presence. Their influence uplifts because it radiates balance. The stronger their calm, the quieter their teaching. Timeless order is self-generating peace. It requires no environment, no ritual, no recognition. The Stoic carries equilibrium into any setting. The marketplace, the battlefield, the solitude, all become equal ground. Their conduct does not adapt to surroundings. Surroundings adapt to their conduct. When calm becomes permanent, ambition purifies into duty. The Stoic works not to achieve reputation, but to fulfill structure. Work itself becomes practice of order. Every task, however small, becomes expression of mastery. The ordinary becomes sacred through precision. At this level, the disciplined individual ceases to oscillate between extremes. They no longer experience dramatic highs or collapses. Emotion continues to exist, but it flows within proportion. Joy and grief occupy equal dignity under principle. They feel deeply, but they are not moved irrationally. This balance is the perfection of humanity. Their sense of time stretches. patience becomes limitless because urgency has vanished. They know that all things unfold within necessity. Impatience is a form of disbelief in order. The Stoic believes not in fate as constraint, but in law as structure. They trust the pattern of existence and move within it seamlessly. In timeless order, solitude and society become equal. The person carries the same peace among others as they do alone. They no longer need to escape. Stillness travels with them. Their interior world is so ordered that no environment can distort it. Wherever they stand becomes center. Strength at this level has no opposite. It is not compared to weakness. It simply exists, stable, unmeasured. The Stoic no longer contrasts themselves with others. Judgment has been replaced by understanding. They see in every person the same potential for order and treat all with composed respect. Their calm becomes archetype. Others seek it without knowing why. The disciplined individual does not instruct, they attract. Their steadiness becomes mirror, exposing the disarray of others gently but unmistakably. Influence becomes natural consequence, not effort. Timeless order eliminates dependence on fortune. The Stoic no longer celebrates luck or curses misfortune. They recognize both as appearances within the same law. What occurs must occur. Their role is conduct, not complaint. This serenity gives them quiet strength that no adversity can disrupt. To embody this final state is to merge self with law. The Stoics' thoughts align with reason, their actions with nature, their emotions with clarity. There is no fragmentation between philosophy and life. They have become principle in form. The distinction between teaching and being disappears. The individual in this condition no longer chases transcendence. They live it. Peace has replaced pursuit. Purpose has replaced questioning. Clarity has replaced struggle. Their life continues, but now each day unfolds with the precision of a timeless mechanism. They no longer seek freedom, they are freedom functioning. This is the embodiment of strength, calm, and timeless order. The person who has become immovable within movement, silent within power, and eternal within change. They do not need to be remembered. They have already become part of the structure that endures.